everybody, it's me, Carrie with MemoryInkers.com. So today we're going to talk about what's new at Stampin' Up! So I've already done a whole video on all of the things that I've gotten, but today I'm just going to talk about our ink pads. Now, you've all had our wonderful ink pads, and they are really great, and you know that they have a big opening. So I'm sure you have heard that there is a new redesign of the ink pads, and so I'm going to go over the whys and the hows of that. First of all, the reason why there was the change is over the years that we've had this wonderful ink pad, there have been things that, you know, we didn't necessarily like, that maybe there was an issue here and there. One of them is that some people found it difficult to open with the pop and the flip, because sometimes it would stick. Sometimes this piece would pop off. With time, we all learned how to use them. Some of us started putting stickers in here, and this particular one, I just wrote the name of the ink, because sometimes it's hard to tell. And they've worked well. It's not like there's been a problem with these ink pads. There has not. However, the mold to make this particular style of ink pad was getting old, and something I didn't know, and I don't know if you know, is that those molds have to be replaced, and they're quite expensive, as you can imagine. So since Stampin' Up! Was doing the big color revamp, they decided to look into ways to improve our ink pad. I know it's hard to imagine that you could actually improve on it, because it was pretty stinking awesome, but they actually did improve on it, and they came up with this style. Now, it looks like it's considerably smaller, but it really is not. And I will go over the size of that for you in just a little bit. One of the things I want to show you is there's a new way to open it. Instead of having to press and pop it and then try to get it right, all you have to do is there's a little thumb catch right there, and you just pop it open, slide it, and then you just slide it in place. Now, they did say that because they're new, you might find that they squeak or, you know, have a little trouble getting into place because they're new. I haven't really found that yet, but I did want to put that out there just in case. And then, of course, they pop into place, so you have the wonderful opportunity to use it like we've come to love so much. Now, about size. The size of the ink pad itself is really the same. I measured them, and I'm obviously not a scientific measurer, but what I have found is that the old style was 2.5 inches by 2 inches by 11/16, and so is the new one, 2 inches by 11/16. The old style stamps are 3 inches and 5/8. That includes this little curve right here. The new pads are 3 inches and 9/16. It's a 1/16 inch difference, and I believe that is the curve, because when I went corner to corner, it was about the same. So now you know that they are basically the same ink pads. The foam itself is a little thinner. It's not, I don't know, I'm trying to see, I can't really see if you guys are seeing this. I don't see a huge difference, but somebody said that they were thinner, so they may be. But they work wonderfully. The other thing that Stampin' Up! Did to improve our ink pads is sometimes with the new foam pads, when you re-ink them, they would have kind of a foam effect on your stamps. You maybe stamp a solid image and it would look like it had bubbles. It did happen occasionally for me, not a whole lot, but it does happen, and I know that. So what Stampin' Up! Did was they put a defoamer in the ink. So while you, there's no reason to replace your old pads at all. I know mostly demonstrators are concerned. I am not. I'm not going to replace mine right away. I will get all the new ones. And of course the new in colors I have in the new style. But I'm going to replace them slowly because there's nothing wrong with these pads. They work perfectly fine. The only thing I would suggest is if you do get a new pad of a pad you already have, for me personally, because they've added that defoamer in the ink, I will get a new re-inker, which you know I always suggest when you buy an ink pad you get the re-inker for it. I am going to do that, and I'm going to make sure I keep the re-inker separate so that I know which is which. Like I was gifted this soft suede ink pad, so I will be getting the re-inker for this one so that I don't get them confused. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Also, just a quick reminder before I go on with this is, you know, we do have the Stampin' spots, and you can use re-inkers on the Stampin' spots because they're not going to hold a lot. Just don't ink them too much. And so I had those there just so you would be aware of them. These spots are actually awesome to use on the Stamparatus, and you can get the empty cartridges, which I thought I had handy, but now I don't see them. Here they are. You can buy a pack of 5 of the empty cartridges if you wanted to fill them in your favorite colors. So that's just a suggestion for the Stamparatus, and I didn't want to forget. So I'm going to be including in this video a few photographs, which I'm going to do now, so that you guys can see what I just talked about, and then I will be right back to show you a few other tips and tricks. Okay, so I hope those photos helped. One of the things that I wanted to point out is this little piece right here. I know many of us have been doing this, cutting the words at the bottom that are in other languages and putting them in there. But now Stampin' Up! Has actually added, I'm hoping you guys can see this because I have the plastic on this one. There's a blank strip right here. I'll add that photograph in with the group and on my blog, memoryinkers.com. And so you've got, for me, I would be using this Grapefruit Grove label on here. And then this one would go inside like that. And you know how when we have our stamps lined up, sometimes, you know, you just can't see the color. Even this, as you can see, it's very dark, but it's actually this light color. So that's a fun little thing that Stampin' Up! Has done for us, so that we have that option. The other question is, will these ink pads work in the ink pad carousel that Stampin' Up! Has had for several years, which you will see is discontinued in the catalog, and they are working for something else. I don't know what that something else is, but it will work. The difference is, and I'll put a photograph in, I'll insert a photograph here for you too. The difference is, if you look at the two pads, the original ink pads had sort of some legs here, and that kept it inside of the carousel. These do not, and the only caution is if you spin your carousel too fast, they could easily slip out. I don't know about you, but my carousel never spun very fast, so that is not a concern for me. The old pads did not stack really great. They kind of did, but not really great. But the new pads have these little feet, and so they actually kind of lock in place. So let me show you that as opposed to this. So you can see that they will stack together very nicely on your desk if you do not have a carousel. So those are the different things about the ink pads. And again, I will add some photographs at the end of this that I will also explain. But I just wanted you to see the new ink pads and know what's new at Stampin' Up! Have a great day. Bye.